What is going on, my friends? Ryan Williams here, back with another video, and in this one I want to talk to you guys about the next dividend stock I'm going to be adding to my portfolio. I'm super pumped to share with you guys what this stock is and why I'm buying it, and also why I think right now is a good time to get into it because it's at a pretty good discount right now and it seems to just keep trending downwards. But we'll talk more about that later. Anyway, before we get rocking and rolling, give this video a big thumbs up if you believe there is no such thing as too much dividend income. They say too much of a good thing is bad, but I don't know if that applies to dividends, to be honest with you guys. So far, it doesn't seem like it does. Also, for those of you who are new to my channel, welcome aboard. On this channel, we pretty much only talk about dividend stocks. So if that is something you're into, I would ask you to please consider subscribing to my channel if you like the content. At this point, guys, I'm putting out 2 videos every single week, one on Wednesday and one on Sundays, which means there is a lot of good dividend stock investing content coming your way, and I don't want you to miss out. So once again, please consider subscribing to the channel. Anyway, thank you guys so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. And now, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, guys, so the stock we are talking about today, the next one I plan on adding to my dividend stock portfolio, and the one that is currently sitting at a pretty sweet discount, is Lockheed Martin, ticker symbol LMT. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Lockheed Martin or maybe don't know what they do, they are an aerospace and defense company in the industrial sector that makes some pretty insane technology, and they also make some really crazy things ranging from planes and helicopters to missiles, radar systems, cyber defense products. They work with artificial intelligence, satellites and spacecrafts, and a ton more, including some very secret projects through one of their subsidiaries called Skunkworks, where 85% of the work they do is classified and executed in secrecy to protect our national security and ensure our armed forces maintain an edge over any threat. Now, just based on the kind of work they do, it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise that Lockheed Martin works pretty closely with the US government and also its military. In fact, a lot of their revenue comes from the contracts that they have with the government. A Forbes article that I found from 2019 states that the US government was responsible for almost 70% of the company's revenue in 2018. In fact, Lockheed Martin accounts for 28% of the US Department of Defense total military procurement. Furthermore, a large number of the company's international customers are allies of the US government who cannot buy from Lockheed Martin without the consent of the US government. So as you guys can tell, Lockheed Martin is pretty reliant on their contracts with the government, which could be looked at as a bad thing. You may not want to invest in a company who derives the great majority of their sales from one source. That doesn't speak too well to the diversification of that company's revenue. And that lack of income diversification could be concerning to some potential investors. However, this does seem to be a two-way street. If we continue in this article, it bullet points a few ways that the US government seems equally as dependent on Lockheed Martin. Bullet point number 1 states a large allocation of the DoD's budget is allocated towards weapon procurement, second only to operations and maintenance expenses. Okay, bullet point number 2, for the last 3 years, LMT has been the largest defense contractor to the United States government, with Boeing being the second largest contractor in terms of value in overall spending. In bullet point number 3, it has a share of about 30% in the DoD's weapon procurement outlay, as detailed in our interactive dashboard. I guess Forbes has something else you can look at for that. But okay, so about 30% of the DoD's weapons budget goes straight to Lockheed Martin. That's a pretty substantial amount, but how much is that exactly in terms of dollars? Another article, this one from Stars and Stripes or Stripes.com, tells us the company is one of the largest contractors working with the DoD, receiving $75 billion in Pentagon contracts in fiscal year 2020. According to a Brown University study released Monday, defense contractors received 1/3 to 1/2 of the Pentagon's $14 trillion in spending since the beginning of the war in Afghanistan. This article goes on to say Lockheed Martin, which recorded $6.8 billion in profit last year, isn't just interested in aircraft defense here on Earth. The company expanded its foray into space travel and missile defense in December 2020 with the $4.4 billion acquisition of Aerojet Rocketdyne Holdings, Inc. Which brings me to my next point, guys. Lockheed Martin is a very forward-thinking company. Innovation and solving advanced problems is rooted in the company's history, as can be seen from the Our History page on their website. A snippet from their bio on this page reads, "The gift that Martin and the Lockheed brothers shared was a unique ability to look past the obstacles of today to the promise of a brighter tomorrow. And they knew, as we've known for 100 years, that innovation, performance, and purpose were the keys to accelerating that tomorrow. Now, this dedication to innovation and providing solutions for the world of tomorrow is why LMT also invests heavily into other cutting-edge companies. It allows them to continue to innovate and exposes them to markets that will become increasingly important as we continue on into the future. And some of these markets include artificial intelligence, AR, VR, MR. I actually don't know what MR is. Autonomy and robotics, blockchain, advanced communications and cybersecurity, next-gen electronics, hypersonics, quantum, which probably quantum physics, quantum computing, stuff like that, and then space technology. So they have a lot of really cool stuff that they're putting money into, which should become increasingly important as we move on into the future. And at this point, guys, hopefully everything we've talked about so far with Lockheed Martin or about Lockheed Martin gives you a good idea of who this company is and what they do and where they're going. Now let's get into some of the numbers behind Lockheed Martin and break those down to hopefully paint a picture as to why I think right now could be a good time to swoop up a few shares if you are an aspiring shareholder or if you are someone who currently owns Lockheed Martin but is looking to pick up some more. All right, guys, now jumping over to the screen here, we are looking at Lockheed Martin here on seekingalpha.com. And as you can see from this price chart here, just in the last year, Lockheed Martin is down 13.67%. And if we look over to the right-hand side of the screen here, we can see its forward PE ratio is sitting at 12.73, which is extremely low. Now, albeit, I'll level with you guys, the share price of Lockheed Martin is pretty dang expensive, almost $350 per share. But in my opinion, that really doesn't matter so much, guys. What we really want to look for is how affordable it is just in terms of like PE ratio, some of these other metrics, and also price performance history. And if we're just looking at those things, Lockheed Martin is looking pretty discounted, and I think it could be a good time to buy some shares. At least that is kind of my plan, which I'll touch more on that later. But first, let's get through some of these numbers here. So as I just mentioned, down 13.67% in the last year. In the last 6 months, they're down about 1.6%. In the last month, just in the last 30 days, they're down over 5%, which is pretty substantial. And then just in the last 5 days, in the last week, they're down another 2.13%. Now, a little bit of a side note, guys, Lockheed Martin came onto my radar probably back at the end of July when my boy Johan Lorenzo hit me up on Instagram and told me he was going to be buying into it. I know I shared that with you guys in another one of my recent videos, but I'll put that message up here on the screen. And I know since then, him and I have talked about it a couple more times, but upon doing my research, Johan's right. It's a good time to buy Lockheed Martin, and it's a great company. And diving a little bit more into the numbers behind this company, guys, if we scroll down, let's take a look at this revenue chart here. We can see that as the years go on, it just keeps continuing to go up and up and up in revenue. And while we maybe had some concerns earlier in the video about Lockheed Martin deriving most of its sales from basically one source or very few sources and there being a lack of income diversification, nonetheless, they're still increasing their sales, increasing their revenue as the years go on. And that's really what we should be focusing on for these guys is how are they growing and expanding every year? And it looks like in their case, they are going in the right direction. And then if we scroll up over here, guys, just looking at a little bit more of some of the growth metrics. I know we talked about revenue going up, which we can see that in another form right here, just in terms of percentage, how much it's increasing on a compound basis every single year or 3 years or 5 years, what have you. It's doing well there. And also this levered free cash flow overall, I've got to say, is also doing pretty dang good. Now, the one thing that is concerning is they're down their levered free cash flow, which is what is used to pay the dividend, is down almost 20% year over year, but still across 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years, this continues to go up, which bodes well for the dividend. If we're seeing this number continue to go up over time, that speaks to the reliability and the sustainability of the dividend. And so when these numbers are positive, it looks like the dividend's going to continue being paid and also hopefully continue growing as well. Now, staying on the topic of the dividend, let's scroll up and jump over to the dividend scorecard page and scroll down. We can see that Lockheed Martin has a forward dividend yield of 3.05%, which we've seen higher, we've seen lower. But 3% is a decent yield, guys. And the payout ratio is actually not too bad either, 38.77%. It's on the lower end, which means that they do have room to continue growing this or do have room to continue contributing to the dividend if they wanted to. Okay, they have a 5-year growth rate of 9.52%, which is pretty nice. I like to see that. And then it says here that they have a dividend growth history of only 2 years. But if we jump over to this dividend history page, we kind of see a different story somewhat. I mean, they have 26 years of consecutive dividend payments at least, so that's good to see. But if we zoom out here on the dividend history, guys, look at this. This just continues to go up and up and up. So it just looks like there was a brief period here between 2018 and 2019, where they doesn't look like they were paying their dividend for a couple quarters. But other than that, guys, they have continued to increase their dividend. So this one little, 6-month period or 3-month period, however long it was kind of a hiccup for them. But otherwise, it seems like they have a pretty strong history of growing their dividend. And now with all of this said, guys, let's jump over to my dividend tracking spreadsheet here so I can share with you guys a little bit about my future plans with not only my portfolio, but with this stock specifically. So I mentioned in my last video, there was a little bit of a hint of some of my future plans if you look at this actual and target allocations. And some of you guys guessed it in the comments, okay? Some of you guys didn't quite figure it out, but that's okay. The big reveal is this. Well, you already know now just based on the title of this video, and I've already spilled the beans verbally too, but Lockheed Martin is gonna be the next stock I'm adding to my portfolio as soon as I'm done contributing to Intel, ticker symbol INTC, which I probably only have another week or 2 weeks of buying this stock before I move on to the next thing. And as you guys can see, I've allocated an extra 3% to my industrials sector. I pulled from a couple other sectors to make this happen, but my industrials target allocation went from 7% to 10%, and that extra 3% allocation is going to be set aside strictly for Lockheed Martin. So that is the next step I'm going to be taking in this portfolio, guys. That is my next move, and like I said, I'm probably only a week or 2 weeks away from beginning to make those investments into Lockheed Martin. And in the meantime, I hope that the stock price just keeps continuing to go down. I've actually been considering buying this company for maybe about a month or so now, just based on my conversations with Johan and my own research and stuff like that. But I'm actually glad I waited, because if I would have bought in a month ago or a month and a half, however long ago, my current position would be down in the red. So I'm glad I held off and let the share price come down a little bit, even if it's only a couple percent here and there, or maybe a couple percent difference when it's all said and done. Still a couple percent. It's better than nothing. So I'm glad I held off a little bit, and I'm hoping, like I said, in this next week, in this next couple weeks, the share price of this stock will continue to go down. We'll see what happens. And that pretty much wraps up this video, guys. So I hope you enjoyed watching this one and learned something about Lockheed Martin. I would be curious to know, what are your guys' thoughts on this company? What do you think about LMT? Are any of you guys Lockheed Martin shareholders out there? Do any of you guys have this in your watch list? Do you think it's still expensive, or you think now is a good time to buy? Overall, let me know what you think about this company in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Also, if you are still here with me at the end of this video and have not done so already, please, please, please don't forget to like this video, leave a thumbs up before you click on to the next one. Doing so dramatically helps the performance of these videos and really helps get it pushed out to other investors or other people here on YouTube who really need to learn about dividend stocks, because it's a great way to create some passive income, as I'm sure you know if you are watching this video. And also, one last thing, I know I mentioned it in the intro, but it would mean a lot to me if you would subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed watching this video and are interested in seeing more dividend content from me. Anyway, with that said, I will now get out of your hair, but thank you once again so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next one.